Today on Car Traction we are not in our usual stomping ground, we are in MoretonHampstead, a little village in Devon. We are here on holiday. No, we didn't just come down here for this fantastic Wolseley 1500, but I would be tempted because it is a lovely classic car and I do absolutely love these. Hopefully we'll be seeing many more British classics at the MoretonHampstead Motor Museum. Not quite open yet, but we will definitely have a look, try and hunt out a few of my favourite classic cars such as the Wolseley 1500 and a few more inside this lovely motor museum. This is a Mark II 1500 from 1964. What a lovely car. I always really like a close look at these whenever I find them, and this one certainly doesn't disappoint. Love that. Now what is this over here? We've got a little old oil pour or something, Shell upper cylinder lubricant. There you go, an interesting little find. They're similar to the likes of my Red X one I bought recently, but quite a bit later. I bet that would actually clean up quite nice. It's a shame it's been left outside, but I know it's a bit dull, but I just thought I had to point that out. Here we are in the museum, and first of all let's have a little look at this Mark I Escort over here. I'm sure this will be a favourite with many people on the channel. From 1970, this is a 1300 supercar. Let's have a little look in the interior. Lovely in there, isn't it? A little bit cramped, but I'm doing my best. Says it's all original as well, which is the way we like them. That will just lose all its character and the lovely smell inside if it were to be repainted. Moving on to a Mark II Cortina. The Cortina is a slightly larger car to the likes of the Escort. This is from 1970, so they're both the same year. But the Cortina first started earlier with the likes of the Mark I. This is a Lotus car, so the modified variant. Let's have a little peek on the interior. This one, nice racing-esque steering wheel as well. Real great sports saloon here. Do rate these. A friend of ours has an absolutely immaculate Mark I Cortina, which is also a Lotus car, and they're really beautiful. Something a little bit more sedate here, an 8016 car, Morris 1100. These came in 1100 and 1300 engines, and this is the Morris, which is quite similar to the likes of the Austin variants. This is a Mark II from 1971. And then you had the MG variant, which was the twin carb engine, but these ones are the much more basic common saloon you would have seen a lot in the day. Nice pair of Lucas spot lamps on the front there as well. The MG's also had a different grille at the front, but I think pretty much the Austin and Morris cars were quite similar. There's a Riley RM over there. A lovely Rover P6, a 2000, so not a twin carb car. This will just be a single carburetor 4-cylinder. Around about 2 litres, but a lovely car nonetheless. Really ahead of its time. Same can be said for this lovely Riley RM. Do like these. Really smart car though, isn't it? Another favourite of mine has to be this XK150 Jaguar. The last of the XK cars of the 50s. These are just lovely, isn't it? Nice worn seats on the interior as well. I really do rate these. What a beauty that is. Lovely little Sunbeam Alpine. Just beyond that I like those as well actually, but this XK150 looks really nice in the dark green, British racing green you could say. Big straight six up front, really does suit this GT sort of car, and it'll make a lovely sound. Nice little commercial in the corner here. There's an Austin A40 Devon van. These are rare, aren't they, in two-tone green from 1954 this. A lovely thing that is, a little Triumph based special, judging by the grille. Don't know much about that, I'm afraid. And here is an Austin A105. This is a Westminster, I believe, so the 6-cylinder engine car. This is likely also to be a column shift. There we are, 2.6 litre 6-cylinder, 105 brake horsepower. It's actually really good. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this has the C series engine in it. This is the Vanden Plas variant as well, which is the more upmarket and luxurious variant of all sorts of BMC cars. Here is a lovely Armstrong Siddeley. I'd say this is probably late 50s sort of thing. Quite an obscure car. I like the little indicators on there. Let's have a little look on the interior. Not a column shift car, floor change. Lovely, lovely quality car. Really handsome in my opinion. Very much like that. Vauxhall Wyvern here, I love these. Some of the 50s and 60s Vauxhall executive saloons are just lovely. Just take a look at the chrome on the front of that, isn't that just beautiful? 1954 this car. What a beauty that is, all the chrome, the real American influence spreading into the British market around that time. And here, even more Americanised, is this a Cresta? Yeah, this is a Cresta. 1962, also Vauxhall again, but you can see the huge contrast between 60s design and 50s, really different. All wraparound windscreens and fins in the 60s, and all curvy chrome fronts in the 50s. What a lovely car this is. Column shift, many cars of this era were column shift. What a beauty that is, love that. Going back over here, we've got the Rover P6 2000 and a Wolseley 680. I do like these. I believe these are a 6-cylinder engine in it, a 2.2 litre. I'm just having a little glance at the information. Lovely interior, column shift again, actually. Very common in with 50s cars like this. 20 horsepower rated car, so not actually 20 brake horsepower, but it is how it was taxed in terms of engine size and other factors like that. Really handsome car. Another favourite of mine is this MG Magnette from 57. This is a ZB, so the slightly later car to the likes of the ZA, I believe. Maybe a slightly different windscreen, or rear windscreen. Really like these, nice and simple floor change, 4-speed I believe. Quite a common engine as well, but MG, always the sportier variant, meaning I believe it will be matched up to a twin carb setup, probably twin SUs. And the good thing is you can get all the parts for those because it's just a normal B series 4-cylinder as well. But powering this lovely sports saloon, really handsome car in my opinion. Let's have a little look at the information sheet. Top speed of 98 mph, which is actually a lot. Makes 64 brake horsepower new, which is actually really not bad at all for the time. People might think, oh, it'll be dead slow, but honestly this would go perfectly well keeping up with modern traffic. Here is sadly not an original D-Type, but a D-Type recreation, but it really is beautifully done. Look at the interior, you can tell that's been done right, can't you? That just looks just like the 50s Le Mans cars, very successful in its era. Some very nice little, perhaps oil or petrol, this one's oil, yeah, so oil dispensers. Here, Morris lubricants, and this one is Vauxhall. I love the Vauxhall oil pourers. Love to see a bit of automobilia here as well. An MG, there is perhaps a YB or some form of Y series car, I think, just post-war. Please do let me know if you've got any sort of history with these cars, or if I'm saying anything wrong. I hope I'm not. I do my best. Triumph 1300 front-wheel drive. I believe these predate the likes of the Dolomite. They're a little bit of a smaller car, but you can see the similar design of all the 70s Triumph cars with the cut-off tail and the back that was seen in the Dolomite, the Triumph 2000, eventually the Spitfires and the TR6. It's a very distinctive Triumph design in the 70s. This is quite a bit earlier than most of the ones we see. Here's the front of the Sunbeam Alpine, and just beyond that is the Mark I Cortina, also known as the Consul Cortina. The first of these early Cortinas had the Consul branding there. We've got some period advertising for the car there. Really practical classic with the estate body. There's actually a folding bike in there, a push, puck, I never know how to pronounce those. This is a deluxe model as well, so all very posh and a great example of a really practical classic. Bit of BMC goodness here from the 60s. This is an MG car, so one of the rarer variants of the likes of the Farina design saloons. You can see again the design changes in the 60s. It was all very straight cut and fins. The MG, as I said before, with the little 1100 always being the slightly sportier variant, so I believe they'll have a twin carb engine under there. What a lovely car. This is the MGs are quite a bit rarer than the likes of the Austins and Morrises. It's nice to see another one. Maybe a bit of sports saloon going on here. I do like that. Over here is something very old. It's a De Dion Bouton. It's a shower bank if you kind of look back there. Predates for the really coaches. You can see where all the people are going back there. Here is an absolutely fantastic car. This is a Railton, I believe it's just post-war. There we go, 1946. And there you go, straight 8 saloon. Let's have a look at this engine. What an amazing car this is. But that'd make a lovely sound, wouldn't it? What a lovely engine. Straight 8s do sound good. Beautiful inside. Nice semaphores here as well. What a lovely car. Very much a sports saloon of its day, or a luxury saloon. Beautiful car there. That is very much a bit of me. Really handsome at the front. Very cool. Rolls-Royce 2025 horsepower saloon here. Once again, very luxurious. This would be probably 30s at a guess. Once again, the 20 or 25 horsepower, not referring to the brake horsepower power of the engine, but referring to the something to do with the taxation of it. This car's bodied by H.J. Mulliner, as were many others. Here is a lovely old Hotchkiss. This is from 1930. Some of these might have had a straight 8 in them as well. I'm not sure what engine is in this car, maybe a straight 6, but some of these definitely had straight 8s, and I absolutely love these. Obviously a French car manufacturer, started off much before the sort of car was invented, making cannons of all things. Bit of a memorabilia section here. Ooh, very tempting, isn't it? Cool British Leyland sign, actually, I like that. Some beautiful signs back here, and so I think that one's Reaper actually. I like that AA garage sign and the National Benzol, all very lovely, but a bit large for Nethershred. Very handsome little Rochdale Olympic here, looks like it's had a bit of a history. Very rare little sporty job here. I believe these are fiberglass bodied. I want to say it doesn't look like there's any rust on that. No, just the paint cracking off. Extremely rare little sports car. What a beauty that is. Looks really nice in light blue as well. Very rare little car there. Here's a Morgan, 1950. And a Jowett Javelin. Dad used to have one of these. Bit of a pain when it came to engine access, but one thing that is worth noting about these is that this little grille here lifts up so you can get to the front of the engine, and I believe with a couple of bolts out you can take off that. But the thing that put Dad off ours was you couldn't actually get to the spark plug, so if you just wanted to clean up the spark plugs you couldn't actually do it like on the roadside. So it's not quite the most practical of cars, but I believe they do actually go quite well because it's a powerful little engine matched up to a column shift gearbox. There were two variants. There was a deluxe and like a base model, and I want to say this is a base model with perhaps slightly fewer dials. This is 151. Oh, this is a deluxe actually, sorry, in almond green the colour is. Very clever car for its time there. Tramp TR2, another little sporty car from the 50s, 54. This car predates the likes of the TR3 with the slightly different grille at the front. I believe they have the same engine. Of course, the evolution of the SC engine that's in our little standard. MGC here. What happens when you put a 3 litre straight 6 in the MGB body? This is perhaps like a Sebring modified car. Nice wide bubble arches. There you go, triple Webers on this. That looks lovely under there, doesn't it? A bit of a race prep maybe in this car, or a fast road. Really cool. Love the MGCs, especially when they've got the wide arches like that. That just looks fantastic. Good bit of Roots Group from Singer here, Singer Vogue. There you go, a period advert. All sorts of lovely Roots Group cars there. Great first classic car or second classic car, just simple manual gearbox, loads of parts for all these Roots Group cars. A really great car. Here's a lovely fuel pump, Avery Hardle fuel pump. Very nice. Certainly looks the part with all these lovely cars. There's also a load of petrol bump globes over there. Lots of motorbike related goodies over here. We will have a look at those in a few minutes, but let's continue the theme with the cars, starting off with a Mini here. And not actually a Mini, these should be really known as the Austin 7, the very first Minis. Have a little peek in the interior. Very clever design, of course. The transverse engine, Isago is genius, and front wheel drive, of course. But the first of these, yes, the Austin 7, and then they became known as the Mini when like Morris started making them as well, and then eventually Rover later on in the sort of 80s, I want to say. You can always tell a Mark 1 by smaller backlights, and the external door hinges and sliding windows as well. Actually, a little bit more primitive. There's actually, sorry, all the Minis do have the external door hinges, and this one seems to have sliding windows as well. So it's perhaps an early car, but it's been very modified. Perhaps a convertible conversion or something going on there. Not sure about that. A Rover Metro. Here's like quite a late car. Here's a lovely little Wolseley Hornet, the Wolseley variant of the Mini chassis with a different front and a slightly larger back. There's one of these up north near us that is supercharged, which you've probably seen in videos several times before. Here's a late Mini. This is actually a Rover car, as I said, from 1990. So they really were producing them for a long time. And here, have a little guess what this is. I absolutely love these. I believe this is known as a Barclay T60 Roadster. I know it was a Barclay, but the T60 Roadster came from the information, I'm not going to lie. I absolutely love this little three-wheeler. Can you call it a sports car? I don't know. Sports car in its style. But I think these are a really pretty little design. And for a micro car, it looks really sharp actually. Very much like those. A Messerschmitt here. A K200 this is known as. You can see the two passengers sitting in tandem. Very primitive all inside. Of course, Messerschmitt known for making planes in the Second World War, but then they moved on to these little micro cars, and they did loads of little variants, hard tops and convertibles like this. It's got sliding windows as well, so very primitive indeed. BMW Isetta here, 300 from 1960. The later ones of these were four-wheel, they had little two wheels tucked behind there, but the first of these just had the one wheel at the back, making it a three-wheeler bubble car. Really defined the term bubble car, the Isettas. Bond Bug here, an orange wedge of teas. Actually I saw one of these recently. It did not say 700 ES, it said 1000 ES, and it had a 1000cc motorbike engine in it, which was quite exciting. Here's a very cool little Lambretta. Let's have a look at this, a 1959 FLI 175 delivery van. Lambretta offered three-wheel commercial vehicles from 1949, commencing with the 125 FB. I presume these bodies at the back would have been custom made. I don't think they sold them with her on it. Here, a very distinctive Reliant Robin. Always made fun of in the likes of Top Gear. But an interesting car nonetheless. That's probably about the middle of production. These are interesting how they've got that single wheel at the front instead of most of the other bubble cars, unlike actually the Lambretta, who have the single wheel at the back. So just the Lambretta and the Reliant here having it at the front. Very cool BSA in the AAA road service livery here. Ooh, there's a fair bit of lovely memorabilia. Let's have a look at this. Nice Castrol oil bottle rack. I like the look of that. Valvoline oil tin, very early indeed. Fisk's motor oil. Ooh, look at these, sunproof oil. Nice little pyramid can as well. This is what the shed should be like. Knoll motor oil, haven't seen that before. Germ oil, same there. I've actually got a Thelson oil pourer. It's a very lovely oil pourer there. The pre-war design, that is very smart, isn't it? And then a few slightly later, smaller ones. A little row of mopeds and little motorbikes. Here is the little folding bike. Paratroop. Here's a little moped, probably a 50cc, a BSA Dandy 70, so it might be 70cc then. 1957, a couple of bikes, a Raleigh Sport. Over here is a Velo Solex, a friend of ours is currently recommissioning one of these. They made these for so long. This is 68, this one. And lots more lovely memorabilia. A Redex upper valve cylinder, is that what it's called? Lubricant is absolutely lovely with its original stand. It's also the earlier style of the tin at the top, which is actually like the one I've got. I was talking about the Shell one outside earlier. That's slightly later, but that one's like the one I've got. But unfortunately not with the base, which is extremely rare. But yeah, isn't it great to see all the memorabilia, not just the cars and bikes, but all the little tins and trinketry here in the background. few little pedal cars and children's toys. The Austin G40 pedal car. Lovely thing those. Dad used to have a couple of those. We've since parted with them. Like the look of that 60s firefighter made by the Harley Davidson company. There you go. That would suit me, wouldn't it? A few books. Quite a few more motorbikes, perhaps a Dakar bike or something here. A Honda Africa Twin Marathon 650 Series 1. This bike took part in the 1989 Paris-Tunis, I want to say, Dakar Rally in a total of 10,794 kilometres. Race conditions were very different to today's Dakar, as there was not the backup safety support of today's race. That's a historical bike then. A few more mopeds and 50cc jobs, like that Honda 2-strokes. A bit of blue smoke would fill this room if we were to fire one of them up. I like the look of this, an Automoto sits on the tank. That's a nice little oily rag barn find. Same can be said for whatever that moped is. I don't quite know what the actual brand of that is. And hundreds of toy cars. A few nice dinkies on the top there. In the bike section we've got a demonstration of the long arm of the law here on the police BSA. Bit of standard goodness here. There's a standard 10, which is brilliant to see. This is a 55 car. Ours is an 8 and from 56, but they sold alongside each other. This originally would have had the 80, well, ours would have originally been the 8 and the 803cc engine, but this is the 948cc engine in it with the 10 and an opening boot lid as well. But this is actually an FIA spec rally car, which is an interesting variant. This is what we should do with ours. Maybe not the seat covers, but apart from that, looks pretty cool. All updated dash. I must say it does look quite good. We've got a couple of lamps on the front of ours. That looks fantastic, doesn't it? I like the look of that. A little Austin A35 here. This also has a 948cc engine. And the A30 also has the 803, not the same engine but the same size as the predecessor to the 10, the standard 8, which is an interesting little coincidence, as these were both strong competitors in the 50s economy saloon market. Nice to see a couple of sort of rally or race prepared ones next to each other. I really like the look of that. I think that just looks great. Dad would like this one, a Mark II Austin A40. I believe these had like a 948cc engine or something like that. It wasn't very big. It was a similar engine to the likes of the A35, and this was one of the first Farina designed cars. So you can see in the 50s we got all the curvy cute cars, and in the 60s is the sort of sharp straight lines of Farina design. This BMC used Farina for all of their cars, I believe, in the 60s. It was the style. This is actually a Mark II, so it's got the 1098cc engine in it. Once again, great example of a first classic car here, the Mark I or the Mark II. We've actually spotted a fair few Mark IIs around here. Dad's doing a little video of everything we see, in which a few A40s we found yesterday appear, including a race one in an old garage. Hillman Super Imp here, top of the range really. 1967, a car that was really ahead of its time with the rear engine as well. Lovely example there. A very jazzed up Mark I Sprite here, known as the Frog Eye. All sorts of interesting mods here. An interesting little air intake there as well. Interesting hood as well with the little windows in it. All sorts of lovely badges. I like the BRSCC badges. I quite fancy one of those myself. They are quite hard to find. It's a 58 car. This one very interestingly modified. Here's quite a late Beetle. And now a few of the bikes. There's a Naval motorcycles bike, very rare indeed. There's Dad doing his video. I'm sure he'll be spending quite a while on that A40. Let's have a little look at this Royal Enfield here. Nice dealer sticker or plaque on the back there. What a lovely bike that is. Probably a 500 or so. I'll have to have a look around the front. There's also a very cool BSA here. Don't know quite as much about the bikes, unfortunately, but I'll do my best. There's also an aerial over there, just in front of the standard 10. Around the back of the Frog Eye, it's even got modified rear wings with little fins How cool are they? Very interesting little car here. Gorgeous Sunbeam Talbot drop head coupe here. This is actually a pre-war car, but they did use the same design pretty much in the 40s after the war. It's actually, there are probably more post-war cars around than the likes of the pre-war cars. This is a 10 horsepower car, joined this collection in 2008. What a beauty, that is so graceful. I love the Sunbeam Talbots, and being a Tourer is an extremely rare variant, and pre-war. I don't think I've ever seen a pre-war one of this body style, which was majorly post-war. What a beauty that is. I like the little louvers on the front, just below the radiator there. That looks quite sort of Riley-esque, doesn't it? Love the look of that. Austin 7 Ruby and a Morris 8 over there. Here is a lovely pre-war car. I believe this is an AC actually. We'll have to have a look around the front. Yeah, an AC. That's an extremely rare and early car. Lovely sort of polished metal. 1924 AC Royale. This is a AC ANSI 12 horsepower open tourer with dicky seats, so the unfortunate passenger has to sit in the back there. What a lovely body shape this is. Nice solid wheels as well, which means this car is very early. I've had a couple of people in there. Actually, there's no, there it is. There's a gear lever just on the wrong side there. Apologies, the footage is a little bit dark, but some of these earlier cars would have had the gear lever on this side instead, and perhaps also a central throttle in something like this, with all the pedals messed up for the modern car driver. What a beauty that is. Bit of me here, pre-war section. Let's start off with probably one of my favourite pre-war car manufacturers, BSA, most known for making bikes obviously, which will be seeing many BSA motorbikes, but no, before the war, 36 in this case, they made BSA saloons, body by Mulliner, and these had a pre-selected gearbox. I saw an identical car pretty much, just a different colour but same spec, at the Audlam Festival of Transport recently. Lovely, perhaps aftermarket I want to say, semaphore indicators there as well, but the BSA is a really nice car. Here's a little Austin 7 Ulster, the sporting body of the little Austin saloon. This is a recreation. A lot of these get sort of VSCC rallied and hill climbed because they're one of the most affordable ways into VSCC eligible cars. That and the pre-war Morris Minors are quite good, but these are a lot more common. 747cc 4-cylinder side valve in these. These are the reason the 750 Motor Club exists. We've seen them at Alton Park several times, but the 750 Motor Club was originally set up for the racing of these little Austin 7s due to their engine size, but nowadays have expanded to all sorts of interesting cars. Morris 8 here, Series 1 with the split wheels. A very advanced car in its day actually, these are. I believe they had hydraulic brakes, I want to say, which meant they did stop well and a lot better than the likes perhaps the Austin 7 Ruby, but they are a bit complicated to work on, I know, because Dad used to have one and I think it was just a little bit weird for us. The Austin 7 Ruby is a lot sort of more conventional. I mean they're all simple, obviously they're all designed to be fixed, all these pre-war cars, but the Austin 7 has a simpler sort of braking system. It's from 1938, this car. These are not VSCC eligible, unlike the flat-rad Austin 7s, which means they're a little bit more affordable, as they're slightly less desirable for people who want to go trialling and hill climbing and join the VSCC club in them, which is good for people who just want a little pre-war car. The same engine, same size, a practical little car. There you can actually see the 750 Motor Club logo. But they do all sorts of modern car racing nowadays. Almost missed out this lovely Riley. This is a 1928 car. You can tell it's quite early because it's got the brass radiator. It's also got the dicky seat in the back. We can just see it open just over there. Fixed head coupe, 11.9 horsepower. A Wentworth coupe this is apparently. With a nice Shell Motor Spirit 2-gallon petrol can on there. That is a lovely car actually. It might be a 6-cylinder, but it could also be a 4. Many of these pre-war cars, if not most of them actually, were side valve. I doubt there'd be overhead valve at this period. Wow, another AC. I presume this is another 20s car having the solid wheels and a very similar front. Might be the same body style as well. 2 seats in there, the gear lever and handbrake also on the wrong side. Actually, these do not have a central throttle. You probably can't see because it's a bit dark, but it looks like they have the conventional pedal setup, which was probably actually quite odd in period. I think most of the pre-war cars did have the central throttle, but no, conventional pedal layout, so maybe a good option for an experienced driver. Then again, I'd imagine these are quite desirable, being an AC, very sporty manufacturer, of course. But nice to see some of the earliest ACs around here today. Well, this fantastic motor museum is just exactly that, fantastic. There's a 1922 Wolseley 7 Tourer. If you want to read the information, just pause the video right now, because I don't have the breath to read that out. This has got a Pratt's can on it. It's nice to see all the memorabilia around it. Oh, the camera's gone out of focus. Let's try and get it back. There we go. This is a bit dark in here. You can see the really skinny tyres on the likes of these pre-war cars and the wheel style. All very primitive inside. One thing to note is actually it also has the gear lever and handbrake on the wrong side, or the unconventional side, for the cars when you compare it to post-war cars. This might also be a dicky seat actually. Not very useful today, unless you don't mind getting your hair a bit messy, but perhaps people use that in period. I don't know. I think I've seen one person maybe in a dicky seat in my whole life, and I must have been to about 1,000 different car shows. Very early style of petrol pump here, far earlier than the likes of the ones we saw before. That's very jazzy and painted up. I like that MG sign actually, that looks the part, but a bit big for Ned the Shed once again. Beautifully restored, all nice and shined up. We do love a bit of oily ragging on the car traction here. I mean, that's reflected in Ned the Shed, but it is occasionally nice to see a few gleaming classics, looking very beautiful indeed. Lovely painting there of a W154 Mercedes. Don't quite know what racetrack that is, maybe Silverstone. But yeah, this museum here in Devon is an absolutely great place. In this corner is another nice bit of memorabilia, an Austin 7 garage chart. It will show us where to lubricate all different parts of it, like the steering box. All these cars did have steering boxes, unlike the sort of rack and pinion setup you see in most cars today. Also the recommended oils, Mobil Oil BB. Always interesting to see those. And one of my favourite corners here actually, the 30s and 20s cars. One of my favourite eras. Back past the lovely micro cars and mini variants. So have a look at some of the bikes. Let's start off with this BSA here. This is absolutely beautiful. Pre-war 1932 model. This has a 350cc engine in it. What a beauty that is. You can see the separate gear selector on the side of the tank there, which would be quite advanced, and me in the reflection of this beautifully shiny bike. Let's have a look at the other side of the tank. You can see the rifles. BSA originally made rifles, I believe, or other sort of weapons. And this is an interesting little car. Dad is also doing this video, he just referred to me. Oh, what is this? A GPO service help. Okay, that's not what the bike is. This is a 1971 BSA D175 Bantam. I presume that is a 175cc engine in it. Quite a late bike actually. They made the BSA Bantams for a long time. It's interesting with the little LED guards here. GPO. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Another BSA here. Here's the long arm of the law again. A BSA C12 here of 250cc from 1956. Love that era of bike. A couple more BSAs, Nortons and AJS. A couple of Velocets. There's a Vincent just over there as well. Love those. Love the look of these Velocets as well. One of my favourite bikes. This is probably my favourite here. 1936 Velocet GTP. Oh, it's a two-stroke. This one, they just look really nice, low slung bars, and some of these pre-war bikes, especially the Velocet's, very sporty. A lovely Rudge here as well, real quality bike. Very early AJS, I'd say that's 20s. An Excelsior, I forgot all those ones are there. This is a rare one, a Wolf Vixen motorcycle here from 1936. Starting to get to some of the earlier bikes here, and All Days Yellow. It says on the side of there, this is a sort of 20s design. Again, the separate gear selector. There, a Douglas, I love the look of those, and the Harley Davidsons. Some extremely early three-wheeled actually setup. And four-wheel actually. Let's have a little look at this. There's actually a little, probably two-stroke engine strapped to the back of that. That's an interesting one, isn't it? I like the shape of the fuel tank as well. I wouldn't say no to that in the shed. On the end here is a lovely matchless. Let's have a look at this. 1960 matchless G3L 350cc auxiliary fire service motorcycle. That is just beautiful, isn't it? Just look at that gleaming chrome, the exhaust and the manifold coming out of the engine. There's a little Pyrini fire extinguisher just on the other side. That is absolutely immaculate. Very early, quite small engine actually, Francis Barnett here. 147cc, there you go, that's rated at 1.5 horsepower. 1925, that is beautiful, isn't it? And an Ajax, that's a ladies model. It's known as also 147cc, perhaps due to the sort of slightly lower line behind the fuel tank there maybe. You can see it's like bikes. Ladies' bikes have this V shape here and men's bikes have the bar there, so perhaps that's reflected in these bikes. Let's have a closer look at some of the ones on the top. These all look lovely together. Nice BSA Bantam green. That looks very good actually. A highlight of mine is this Sunbeam S7. This is a 1951 bike. These bikes are shaft driven, which is very interesting, not chain driven like most other bikes. It's very large, perhaps like a 500cc engine or something, which is very large indeed. Lovely lamp on the front as well of this. That is a handsome bike, isn't it? Beyond all the lovely Velocets, the Velocet LE there, used by the police, and the lovely Vincent. Here's a lovely old pre-war car, very large as well. This is a Bentley 3.5 litre straight six car from 1934 with a racing body. These were sold in period as just the front and the engine, and then anyone could do the body at the back themselves. Raced in period apparently, which is very interesting. Competed in the 24-hour Le Mans. That's interesting, average speed of 87 miles per hour, solo driving for 24 hours. What a great history with that car. It is very handsome front, of course, with all of the lovely Bentleys. Another handsome front is the front of this XK150. So many lovely cars here, but I really do like the look of these fixed head 150s. Beautiful inside as well, very lovely car. Another favourite of mine is this Rochdale Olympic. Looks absolutely fantastic in light blue. 50s Morgan, a 4.4 drop head coupe. And this is an interesting little hot rod. I presume it's a swapped engine. I'm just trying to figure out what it's based on. If anything, it might just be a bit of a Bitzer. If anything, you see a lot of these based on the likes of Model A's, but I feel like this just might be a front axle off something, a chassis off something else, and a rear axle off something else, and certainly an engine off something else, a grille off something else. It's an interesting car nonetheless. I like the look of that instrument setup actually. It says Chrysler, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this it might be Chrysler based, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, because it could just be like the instrument setup from a Chrysler. And I've just seen something over here I very much like. Look at this little oil upper cylinder lubricant dispenser here, Red X. That is absolutely stunning, isn't it? Just look at that. You can't really actually, because you can't see much of it, but I can assure you it's absolutely lovely. I think that's pretty much everything from this lovely motor museum in MoretonHampstead down in Devon. We were always going to end up somewhere car related. We've been to countless garages and classic car related places, all of which you can find on Taz's channel at Old Classic Car, as he'll be doing a video of all the things we found, as I will just be doing a video of this MoretonHampstead Motor Museum. But please do not switch off from Car Traction altogether, because uploads every Sunday during the summer and in the winter, if I can. All sorts of classic car shows, stuff about our own classic cars. Hopefully you find all these videos entertaining. I'd love to hear if anyone has any history with any of these cars here, like any of the Farina cars. I doubt anyone would have a history with the Railton, but if you do, please do let me know anything like that, what you thought of the video, and if you like this place. And that's all. Thanks for watching.